Following his first address to Congress, President Biden moved on and paid a visit to Georgia yesterday to begin to sell those economic plans he laid out.
If you ever wonder if elections make a difference, just remember what you did here in Georgia when you elected Ossoff and Warnock. You began to change the environment. And look, because of you, we passed one of the most consequential rescue bills in American history. So what did you do? What did you do with your vote here in Georgia? Well, you changed America. You began to change America. And you're helping us prove that democracy can still deliver for the people.
The president in Duluth, Georgia yesterday. Biden also briefly mentioned the new controversial voting rights law in the state, saying instead of celebrating record voter turnout in 2020, it is, quote, being attacked. The president visits Philadelphia today to promote that ambitious agenda and to celebrate the 50th anniversary of his beloved Amtrak. Also yesterday, police reform advocates, including family members of George Floyd and Andrew Brown, two prominent victims of police killings, met with lawmakers in Washington to advance legislation against police brutality ahead of the one-year anniversary of Floyd's death. The group met with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Susan Rice, and other White House officials. Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Tim Scott, who is leading the Republican effort of the legislation, also met with the families in what was described as an emotional meeting.
So this was about them understanding that this is very real to all of us, but it means more to these families than anybody else, because that legislation will literally have the blood stain of their loved ones. And that was the tone and the tenor of the meeting.
See Eric Garner's mother standing to Mr. Crump's right as well. So, Eugene Daniels, there was a lot of talk about Tim Scott's Republican response to the address the other night. He is leading this Republican effort, though, to get some kind of reform on policing, a bipartisan effort. They'd like it to be. Is that a real, are they really anticipating getting something done together? Are there enough concessions somewhere in the middle for Democrats that they can work with Tim Scott on this?
Yeah, I think I might be in the minority of people who aren't as cynical on this issue as I was maybe 2 weeks ago. It seems with Tim Scott leading this, he has a lot of relationships on the Republican side. So I think they trust him to do this negotiation, kind of whatever he decides they're going to be willing to go with. But it's also key to to think about the things that they are fighting about, the Democrats and Republicans debating about. There's the qualified immunity, whether you can sue a police officer, or, as Republicans are probably more likely to have a palate for, sue a police department after one of these things. There's the militarization of the police, which is a huge sticking point for Democrats. There's also other issues, the bans on chokeholds, all of these types of things. And it seems like when you have the president saying in his joint session, I want this done within a month, he has told Democrats that he is willing to make some decisions here. He is willing to do some compromise on this issue. And I think there's a lot of pressure. You see, the families going there. That is something that doesn't happen that often, right? These families don't go to Capitol Hill and lobby like this so publicly. And after the last year we've had in talking about racial justice in this country, it feels like there's even more pressure on Congress than there ever has been before. So if there's a time that it's going to happen, you talk to advocates and activists who work in this space, and they say now, and especially after President Biden putting a month deadline on it for everyone, is the time for that to happen. So I think people are feeling hopeful, but fits and starts of this happen on Capitol Hill quite a bit. But it seems like the group that met on Thursday, they're very serious about these negotiations. That was some House and Senate members, also Republicans and Democrats. So they're taking it pretty seriously to get something done as soon as possible.
No, I think you're right, Eugene. You're not the only one who's not necessarily cynical about this one place anyway, that there might be some bipartisanship breaking out. We'll see. Victoria, you look at President Biden hitting the road after his address to that joint session of Congress the other night down in Georgia. He'll be in Pennsylvania today, really going right to the people and selling the plans, which are broadly popular if you look at public polling. Perhaps not as popular with Republicans, as we heard immediately after the address, but I think he understands sort of implicitly that while he's going to reach out to Republicans and try to maybe work some back channels on infrastructure and get pieces of it to have Republican support, that he knows he's going to have to sell this to the people first and maybe just get it again like he did with COVID relief on Democratic Party lines.
This is so important, Willie. We have seen the mistakes made when administrations think that people will automatically embrace things that enhance their lives, namely the ACA, and Biden was front and center in that. He saw that up close. So he has learned from that, and he is hitting the road. He is going to connect the dots for the people. And I think when we look at his approval ratings, remember earlier this week we saw the slate of approval ratings. It's above 50% for President Biden. But then when you start breaking it down for individual programs, you see a lot of popularity here. And the argument on the Republican side that these are progressive, socialist policies really doesn't stick when you see 60+% approval. These are really mainstream policies. So with this momentum, the president needs to go and clinch the deal, because at the end of the day, it's citizens, it's voters who have the final say. And if he can get the voters mobilized to put the pressure on their elected officials in Congress, it's a trickle-up support that he desperately needs to get this bipartisan support.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.